Yes, and honestly, this thing you're saying, the first thing that comes to my mind is doctors. Doctors are affected the
Absolutely.
most. Internationally educated doctors, nurses, not so much because I mean, with nursing, right? All you have to do come in, write like satisfy the
Yeah.
requirements. If they approve you, write licensing exam, and then you start earning as an RN,
Mm.
right? Which might be better than what you were earning back home, especially if you're from a third world country. But doctors, it's harder,
Yeah.
especially in Canada. In the US, it's slightly better because you have a lot of medical
They're
schools.
much, much better.
Yeah, you have much more variety, medical schools. People can go outside, study, write exam.
Come back.
It's
Yeah.
better in Canada. First of all, we don't have much medical schools here compared to the US.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, the process is just so difficult. It's just so difficult that you cannot even when you come in, for example, what I've heard a lot of doctors complain about is, when they come in as maybe permanent residents, or maybe when they come in, say, for example, to study an MPH degree and then use that to like try and write those licensing exams, right? It's very difficult. And then again, if you now belong to a minority, it's even harder because you have to work twice as hard as somebody who is, not minority or someone who is of a different, of like Caucasian descent,
Yeah.
if I'm to say.
Mm.
So, you spend thousands of dollars writing exams that you have to pass.
Mm.
And then when it comes to matching, you don't even get where you even desire.
Yeah.
You don't get where you even desire. That's if you even match.
In the US, for example, the last statistic says 60% of foreign trained medical doctors march into residency. Though
It's a lot better.
that's a record high in the US. But in Canada, I'm very sure it's less than 10%. Less than 10%.
Yes, they make it so tough
Mm.
for internationally trained doctors to
Yeah.
come in, which is funny because the healthcare system is
I heard there's shortage of doctors there.
a shortage of doctors,
Yeah.
right? There's shortage of doctors. You have long wait times in the emergency
Yeah.
room. People are waiting hours, more than 12 hours to see a doctor. You understand? The shortage of family doctors. People can't even register to have a family doctor. You have to wait or be on the list or some of those other things, right? To be honest, I wish I could understand why they can't like bend some rules or like make it easier for
It's
doctors
not
to.
a problem. It's intentionally done because I was listening to a podcast. Some Canadian physicians are talking about it, and they can't actually lay their hands on it. So they actually said maybe because of money, the government are trying to, keep the money within. If you come as a foreign doctor, there's no way you can contribute to the economy by you're not returning any loan, you're not repaying any loan. So they
Oh,
need someone to study in their country,
I'm
obtain
paying.
a lot of money, and keep returning the loan back to the system. So that's one of the reasons.
Even the studying, let's even come to the studying, for example, to study medicine, right? It's difficult to get in Canada because, like I said, we don't have so much medical schools when you compare it to the US, right?
Yeah.
You find out that um, having passing your MCAT exam, having all of these other extracurricular activities, having a 4.0 GPA from your bachelor's is not even guaranteed, right?
Mm,
It's not even guaranteed. That is why you have some Canadians who actually leave
mm,
out, like go out of Canada to either the Caribbeans or to the I know of someone who left. This girl is a Canadian.
mm.
She's actually even Caucasian, and she left and went to the UK to study medicine because she couldn't get into a med school here. And you have some people who will leave and go to Caribbean and study and then come back, right? But then if you leave, you study, you come back, you're still facing the same problem because you weren't trained in Canada,
Canada,
right?
yeah.
During the year that George Floyd died in 2020, because of the whole uproar of things, they started including this whole diversity thing. They want to claim that okay, they'll admit more
Yeah.
minority students, insert people of color that want to study medicine, right? But like to me, I take those kinds of things with a pinch of salt.
It's hypocritical. They know exactly what they are doing. Yeah.
Yeah, University of Toronto. There was this girl right? She's actually Nigerian, but she left. She and her family, they moved to Canada. I think when she was much younger, I think in early teenage years or so, and she actually studied at University of Toronto in medicine. She ended up being the best graduating student, like the class valedictorian
Mm.
in 2020. This story actually was on LinkedIn. So in 2020, she was class valedictorian. She happened to be the only black person in her entire class. But even at that, right, I read her story. She did an interview and she was talking about the level of racism she encountered, both from her classmates, from instructors, and then from patients when they are doing all these clerkships or internships, right?
Yeah.
About how people will say the moment they see her, they don't want her as a doctor. She was
Mm.
the only black student. And even at that, being the class valedictorian, she received a lot of death threats from her classmates
Wow.
because, okay, why would they allow somebody who's black to be the class valedictorian? What about them? Right? She's
Wow.
just smart. She's just smart.
Okay.
And then the following year, which was 2021, like the next set of medical students that they admitted, right, in their bid to include all this diversity stuff, like they want to be inclusive, they want to
Yeah.
show that diversity, they admitted about, I think it was 250 students into med school that
Okay.
year. So this cohort now is going to graduate, I think, in 2024 or
Okay.
there, yeah, 2024 or so, or 2025. And in that cohort, right, because she was the only black student. So after this whole George Floyd issue,
Mm-hmm.
when they admitted those 250 students, just guess the percentage of people who were black. We have not even come to other ethnic minorities,
Mm.
right? It was just 20%.
Imagine.
It was just 20 out of 250, meaning there were less than, I think there were less than 20 black people,
Yeah.
right? And that 250, it's not everybody that is going to graduate as it does. Some people might drop out or fall
Sure.
out at the end
Yeah.
of the day. So it's very tight and it's very tough. Very, very tough. I know in my channel, I made a video about, going to med school in Canada. And I specifically told people because I searched virtually all the medical schools in Canada. And I told people that if you're not a citizen or a permanent resident, you cannot go to med school in Canada because they will not take you. So if you're coming into Canada thinking you want to study medicine immediately, you have to find something else to do. And then when you get your permanent residency, you can then pursue med school, right? There's so many things involved. There are so
And
many
it's been
things
going
involved.
for years and years. I mean, decades. It's not something of maybe from the 2000. No, it's been like that for since the
It's been like that for a long time. It's been like that for a long time. Like, honestly speaking, I feel like, and this is just my own personal opinion, right? If I wasn't already here in Canada and I wanted to study medicine, I don't think I would come to Canada and study medicine. I think I'd rather go to the US if I
Yeah.
can be accepted in the US and study medicine there because it's just easier,
Yeah, but
especially
in your
as
own case,
a
it's
color
different.
or as a minority.
Yeah,
It's
you're a
just
citizen now.
easier.
I think it's different now. I mean, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get into medical school now, as compared to if you are just a foreigner or someone who is
Yes.
from a permanent resident. So it's a little
Yes.
bit different now.
Yes. 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 I mean, if even as a Canadian, if I moved to the US to go study medicine, I will be treated as an international student. So
Yeah,
I will still be paying
because
international
the
school.
same thing. Yeah, the good thing about US, I'm not going to lie. In terms of medicine, they don't really look at the color of your skin. They don't do
So
that.
much better than Canada.
Yeah,
Canada is still learning. They have a long way to go.
I'm not a big fan of US system, but I would tell you that in terms of medicine, they don't really look at the color of your skin. To match you into residency, they don't. It's about competency.
And then
So
you have all these people, like for example, yeah, I've talked to quite a number of men who are doctors and like coming into Canada, how can they practice all those kind of things, right? These are men who are like in their 30s, getting close to their 40s. Some of them have families, right? The
yeah,
reason why some of them leave or some of them just kind of drop medicine entirely is
yeah,
because it's so difficult that they can't even continue because they won't let you get into specialties if you're doing
yeah,
residency. There are only some select ones that are available for internationally trained doctors like internal medicine, family
yeah.
practice, kinds of
They are
things.
Yeah.
it's difficult for someone to get into neurology or like neurosurgery, for example, or anesthesiology, some of those higher end ones,
Yeah.
internationally
Same,
trained.
same in the US. I know it's a little bit contradictory, but in the US as well, it's they will let you, but you have to kind of outperform the citizen. You must be obviously good. Do you understand? So there's no way they can. Yeah, but it's more competitive when you climb the ladder of the hierarchy. So it's harder.
And then another point I wanted to mention is, with people with these kinds of careers like this,
Mm.
they have families to feed, they
Yeah.
have to work, they have to provide, especially
Life
those who
balance.
are married,
Yeah. Mm.
right? Or those ones who have a family to take care of, right?
True.
So when they come, they're like, this thing is not even benefiting me
It's
as much as
frustrating. It's
was.
actually
So either
frustrating.
they leave or they just switch and do something different because, like, at the end, right, they just need a career. They just
Yeah.
need something that puts food on the
And
table.
the longer it drags on, you tend to have a choice to make. So either you pick family or over, I mean, because you are getting to your 30s now, you have to make a decision. It's either you just quit medicine and just embrace family, or you pick the other. So yeah, it's very, very hard to see your career slip away with time. I mean, yeah, I can tell you that personally. So it's something you have to make up your mind on. Yeah, so talking about health, let's move to healthcare now. You were saying something about the healthcare system in Canada. I also read online that it's very, very hard to see specialists. You have to be on this very long queue, right?
In terms of healthcare, so the healthcare system in Canada is it's free.
Mm,
Technically, it's
mm,
free, but the reason why I say technically it's free is
yeah,
that if you look deeper, it's not necessarily free. The
mm,
taxes that we're paying,
yeah,
right? What is making the healthcare free?
mm,
And it's only certain things, right? There are some things that are not free. For
mm,
example, when it comes to vision or like vision or dental, some of like cosmetic
okay,
things, those
yeah,
ones
mm,
the government will not cover it, right?
okay,
Sometimes some insurance companies or the insurance you get from work might not really cover it.
mm.
But the healthcare system is free
So
and it's
it's free at
largely.
primary level, like primary health care, like
Yes,
basic.
primary healthcare. For example, I can walk into a doctor's office and I will not pay for consultation. If
Yeah.
they send me to go do lab work, like draw blood collection, I will not pay. If they are asking me to go and do MRI or a scan or something, I will not pay.
Yeah.
Sometimes some specialists, if they refer me to a specialist, I will not pay. But if it's something that is cosmetic, for example, I normally do laser surgery
Okay.
at a dermatology clinic. So that's cosmetic, and my insurance cannot cover that. And then also, the government doesn't cover that because it's my choice to do it.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's not technically not everything. And even though I'm a citizen, right, I still pay for that aspect of healthcare. But for like the general one, if God forbid something were to happen and I landed in the hospital, I will not pay.
Okay.
Okay, but people who are foreign, for example, if you don't have permanent residency,
Mm.
if you don't have a status here in
Yeah.
Canada, let's say you're temporary, right?
Yeah.
You have to pay, right?
Okay.
If I were if I were to get pregnant and give birth, I will not pay for giving birth.
Mm.
I will not pay for giving birth. If I
Yeah.
wanted to have a tummy tuck after giving birth, I
Yeah.
think that's also free as well. I will not pay. So, like at that primary healthcare level,
Mm.
it's largely free
Okay.
and largely publicly funded. We don't
Mm.
really have much privately funded. Like we don't have much of the private sector here,
Yeah.
except for I don't know something like a dermatology clinic will be private, something that is cosmetic, where they do all this plastic surgery, Botox, or
Yeah.
maybe something like laser treatment for the eyes or something like that. That's something that is private, but
Yeah.
they pay more.
Mhm.
But in the general sense, right, we
Yeah.
don't really have much of that private coverage.
Okay.
And there's also there are so many facets to the healthcare system. So
Mm.
there is the fact that okay, it's largely publicly funded, number one. Number
Mhm.
two, we don't have enough staff, right? We don't have like there's a shortage of nurses, there's a shortage of doctors.
Mhm.
We don't have so much doctors. So the fact that we don't have much staff, that's also adding to the longer wait
It's
times.
self-inflicted as well.
Yes, that's leading to the longer wait times and putting a strain on the healthcare
Yeah.
system. COVID-19 was something that happened and also created a strain on the
Yeah.
healthcare
Yeah.
system. Like now we're trying to move back to normal,
Mm.
right? So this is one of the reasons why I think people end up just moving out
Mm.
of Canada entirely, because someone will come and they want to see a doctor and they have to wait 12, 15, 18 hours before they get to see a doctor in
Mm.
the emergency
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
So that aspect of health is there.
Mhm.
Again, as it concerns health, the older population, you have like you get to a certain age and you have to retire from work. And when you retire, of course you get a certain amount of pension, but you have like the system here, which I feel is very similar in the US, is you have a lot of nursing homes, all these senior homes that are dedicated for to older adults.
Yeah.
When you have their parents or relatives that just can't care for them anymore, they just go and dump them into a nursing home
Yeah.
to stay there. So a lot of people don't want that, especially for it's more of something that is here, but like people who migrated,
Yeah.
especially
Not a
as a lot of
thing.
people don't
Yeah.
want that. A lot of people don't want to just be left alone in a nursing home. And so when they feel like okay, they've retired, right? And based you hear all these sad stories happening with different nursing homes, right? Most people are just like, okay, I'm done. I've served my time here. Let me just go back to my country and
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
stay there instead of staying in a nursing home where some of them feel neglected,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there's also that part of healthcare with people just not wanting to stay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys, again, click the like button, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you guys again to next time. Bye.
Okay. Guys, bye.
Yeah.